I don't know where to begin here. Every other game so far has meant something to me. Devil May Cry 1 is the first game, so obviously I have to take a look at that. Devil May Cry 2 is so bad I have to talk about it. Devil May Cry 3 is my favorite video game of all time. But this means nothing to me. It's not that I don't like it, it's just that I'm indifferent to everything about it, and I was sort of hesitant to play it again. I bought this game right after I finished Devil May Cry 3, and at the time, I was a lot more negative about it because I didn't feel like it was that big of a step up, especially since it was on better hardware. Now, I appreciate what it is. I think it's a fine game, but I just still can't get past comparing it to its predecessors. Now, you may notice I didn't start a new save file for this game. That's because this game also got a special edition with Virgil support, but for some reason they removed the multiple save files. Why? What if you have a sibling who wants to play? What if you want a fresh start, but you don't want to erase your old progress? What if you want to play it for a YouTube review that you were procrastinated for 3 months? It doesn't make sense. Up until this point, we've had a meaty 10 save files, and now we've been reduced to only 1. This game focuses on a new character named Nero, who totally isn't related to Dante. While he's at his local cult meeting filled with people worshipping Sparta as a god known as the Order of the Sword, Dante descends from the heavens and shoots the Pope. Nero rushes in to stop him, revealing that his broken arm was actually a demon arm called the Devil Bringer, and after scratching Dante's intestines with his own sword, which Dante laughs off by the way, he finds the city has been overrun with demons. Nero rushes to protect his childhood crush Kyrie and her brother Credo, and once they're safe he goes to find the source of the demons, and look for Dante. After a cave transports him between climates, he runs into a woman named Gloria who works for the Order, and yeah, that's about it. Nero ventures into this castle where he finds this dumbass board game segment and Virgil's sword the Yamato broken in half and being studied by a man named Angus, whose name sounds like Angus. He reveals that he's been studying demons in his underground lab and sends demons to kill Nero, but then, suddenly, the Devil Bringer resonates with the Yamato and gives Nero power! Nero finds out that the demons are coming through these portals along with the bosses and sets out to seal them all. Meanwhile, the Pope, whose name is Sanctus, is revived by Angus, and Dante creates a scene that's used too much by the Devil May Cry community, myself included. Nero runs into Credo, who reveals that the Order has plans to become angels and awaken the Savior. But there's no heaven or angels in Devil May Cry. Only hell, according to the people on the internet, and they would never lie to me. Either way, Credo turns to the only boss other than Dante that I'm not sick of, and after Nero beats him, Kirio shows up but is yoinked by Angus, who looks like a secret character from the Sex Offender Shuffle. Nero chases him when Dante shows up to remind players that his dick is bigger than Nero's and tells him that the Yamato belongs to him since it was his brother's. Nero doesn't put 2 and 2 together and asks if they might be related since he's connected to his brother's sword, which was wielded by Sparta, and they both have white hair, but it's okay because Dante lets him keep the sword anyway. Nero goes to fight Angus, who retreats so that he can put Kyrie into the Savior for some reason, and also Nero forgets that he has a stretchy arm. So then Nero faces the Savior, but loses right as Dante shows up. That might have seemed abrupt, but that's sort of how it is when you're actually playing the game. These things just kind of happen. So the Savior fully awakens, which we were told requires blood from Sparta's bloodline, his sword that Trish, who was actually Gloria the whole time, gave to them for some reason, and they take the Yamato to reopen all of the portals that Nero closed. So Nero magically fixes one of Sparta's swords, awakens a statue that requires Sparta's blood to function, and just so happens to have shining white hair, and never thinks to ask if he has some sort of connection to Dante. Oh, well, who cares, because we get to play as Dante now. And what do we do as Dante? Backtrack through every Nero mission and refight almost every single boss. What? So as Dante, we go back to all the portals that Nero sealed and kill the demons that use them, since Nero couldn't kill them. Dante destroys every single portal and goes back to the church to fight Angus and take the Yamato back. Dante destroys the last portal and takes on the Savior himself. He then throws the Yamato inside of the Savior, which he knew about for some reason, even though it's a giant fucking statue, and frees Nero, who heads to wherever Sanctus is supposed to be. Even the final boss is a refight, not a good one like Virgil was. He's piss easy. Nero beats Sanctus, gets the Sparta back, and destroys his savior in a moment where he should have said jackpot, but instead he says it if you kill Sanctus with a grab during the boss. Why? If you're not listening to, you might not hear it. This was a perfect moment for it, just like in Devil May Cry 2. But at least there, it wasn't a tradition yet, and fuck you, game, for making me say something nice about Devil May Cry 2. The story here, it's fine. There aren't many blaring issues that I could think of other than Nero's relationship to Dante, but we'll get there when we get there. The boss banter's as good as always, especially Dante's. I think in terms of absurdity, this game takes the cake with Dante's cutscenes alone. Nero's banter is good too, but I can't get over the thought that his voice actor sounds like he's trying to imitate DMC3 Dante. I ain't noticed it before, but it was a little distracting this time, and it makes the fact that he says Kyrie too many times for my brain to handle a lot more annoying. Oh yeah, the love aspect of the story. I didn't really touch on it because I feel like there isn't that much to say. It's clear they both like each other from the very beginning of the game, and the whole demon part of it doesn't really play as big of a role in their actual relationship, except for one time Nero implies that he would go full on demon if it means it'd keep her safe. It's really a nothing love story, and it gets intrusive at its worst, but it's not at its worst for a long time. But the performances overall are still great. They even brought back Dante's voice actor from 3. I couldn't even tell when I first played this. All the other games had a different actor, but we finally got the concrete voice actor return again for Devil May Cry 5. This game had a special edition like I mentioned earlier that had Virgil mode and a Lady and Trish mode, which both get 2 cutscenes each, and they play the same 20 missions from the main story. Which is fine. But I mean, couldn't they have done a little bit more with it? For Lady and Trish, it's implied that they're doing their own things during the events of the game, so why not give us that experience? Let us see what they did throughout the whole game, because Trish did fucking nothing for the 2 scenes she was there, and I don't think Lady was in any cutscenes after the office scene. And with Virgil, you have the 2 cutscenes where it shows that he was in the city, so what was he doing there? What was his search for power like before the events of Devil May Cry 3? It's heavily implied in this game that Nero was Virgil's son, so why not give us something with that? It would have been such a perfect opportunity, but they went with the same route they did for Devil May Cry 3. But at least there, it made sense because there wasn't another story to be told that we weren't already shown in the main game. How dare this extra content that I wasn't expecting not be up to my expectations? The gameplay is why I find this game so bland. Nero's biggest difference from Dante is that he has a few more combos for his sword and he has the Devil Bringer. It's a grab. Sure, it looks cool on bosses, but in basic gameplay, it isn't very interesting in my opinion. The pull move is extremely useful, making it easier to keep air combos going, but Nero's biggest problem, and the main reason I prefer Dante in this game, is that Nero gets no new weapons for the entirety of the game. And you play as him through most of it. I played this game for the first time right after finishing Devil May Cry 3, a game with 5 different melee weapons and 5 different guns, and playing this game being the first boss to be rewarded with nothing? I was disappointed. Sure, Nero gets some different grab abilities, but they don't add as much as a brand new weapon with its own moveset and upgrades you can buy. I mean, the grab has a hold ability that I used once in this playthrough before saying, alright, this is useless. The style meter's back with a few refinements and these things that I forgot to mention in the last game because they weren't fun to fight there, but they're better here now that they actually follow your combos and go up when you hit them with the move that's supposed to send things up. Nero's sword, the Red Queen, can be revved up for stronger attacks. You can upgrade it to hold 3 charges and instantly fill it if you time your button presses right. But honestly, I just sort of mash and hope that it works. I have a general idea of when I'm supposed to do it, I'm just a fucking idiot. And there's a lot more base moves than the Rebellion did since Nero has no styles, and it's pretty fun to use. It can get kind of bland because it's the same weapon through the majority of the game, but it's still fun, especially on bosses. His gun should be cool. The Blue Rose is a double-barreled revolver, and it's just ebony and ivory, but less useful. You can't shoot in 2 directions, you have no moves like Rainstorm. Dante's shotgun is cooler than this. Speaking of Dante, he was improved in almost every way. He can hold all of his weapons at once. He can switch between styles. He gets a new style based around the Yamato. He has most of his rebellion moves back with some alterations. The button mashing moves are gone. Instead, the only move you can mash is Million Stab. The styles took the most changes. Now you buy the upgrades instead of using experience points for some reason. And Royal Guard has a different level 3 upgrade move. In Devil May Cry 3, you held out this force field that absorbed damage into health. It almost has never worked in my experience. And here you get the slow-moving dreadnought that reduces damage. Which one do I think is better? Who cares? I rarely see anyone ever use any moves other than the standard block and release. And the enemies with Dante can be kind of annoying since they were made with Nero in mind. Dante was supposed to get his own missions, bosses, and enemies, including a new Devil Trigger, but it was all cut. He's still fun to play as though, but it can be kind of annoying trying to unlearn the muscle memory you just gained while playing as Nero. Even though you fight the bosses 3 times and by the end of the game you'll hate every single one of them, they're easily the best part of the game. All of them except Sanctus. His boss fight is the equivalent of touching wet food while doing the dishes. But every other boss is where the game's combat feels close to perfection, especially with Nero. The Devilbringer moves are super flashy and do massive damage, perfecting the boss's patterns and evading their attacks flawlessly. If every encounter was half as good as the bosses, this would come close to dethroning Devil May Cry 3 in terms of pure gameplay. 3 would still win though, because of Virgil. Hey, speaking of Virgil, he's Blue Dante in this game. Durgil. He has this new mechanic called concentration that increases attack range when it's full. Locking onto and hitting an enemy increases it, while running in combat, missing attacks, and getting hit causes it to drop. When it's full, you can pull off Judgment Cut End, which kills everything. It looks cool, but the stuff he does doesn't feel as satisfying as Devil May Cry 3. He doesn't have the same weight in his moves, and the concentration meter doesn't add enough to make it feel like anything other than an excuse to spam Judgment Cut End until you win. For Lady and Trish, the Mad Lads did it. They cut Dante in half. Lady is Dante's guns, and Trish is Dante's swords and also guns, but the weaker ones. And somehow they're still decently fun. Trish feels the most like a reskinned Dante, but Lady mostly uses guns and forced the developers to make them useful, and I think they succeeded. She has most of the moves that Gunsling would usually let you use, and even the charge attacks let you just shred through demons. They're both fun, but I didn't care enough to do a full third playthrough as them. I easily prefer playing as Nero and Dante, and even then, that playthrough kind of felt like a drag at times. But Bloody Palace is still an amazing add-on to the game. This time it's a little different with preset floors and a timer that gives you more time for getting through without getting hit. And with all 5 characters, it's still a lot of fun, even though the final boss looks like someone left Dante in the oven for too long. Enemies this time around include... Are those the lizards from the first game? These guys are kind of like the Sin Scissors, but not as annoying, thank fuck. I take that back. So instead of being able to shoot them with one well-placed blast and kill them instantly, you have to shoot them until their cloak disappears, and then you can unleash your combos on them. Now that I think about it, the same goes for the blitzes. Just shoot them until the game decides that you can win now. But you can't hit these guys at all before that. I'm just gonna consider myself lucky that the nobodies didn't feel like making a comeback too. I'm surprised I got through that. I was holding a sneeze that entire time. The music is great as it's always been, though I feel like Shall Never Surrender is a great theme. It gets kind of annoying as a battle theme because of how often you hear the intro. Sometimes fights don't last long enough to get into the meat of the song and you're just left with... the intro, over and over. Lock and Load sort of has that problem, but with this sound. But what I'm more distracted by is the fact that it's just a remix of the theme from the first game. This game not only takes enemies, but also music from the first game too. Not that I think it's bad, but it just feels a little odd that this would take so much from the first game. Since there's no real narrative reason for it, it just sort of feels like a nod, reference, an excuse to reuse stuff that they've already made. I mean, it doesn't make that much sense, but I mean, it's not like it's bad. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, the music's great, except for the fact that Trish, Lady, and Virgil just use the same songs. They don't get any unique mixes. Sure, Devil May Cry 3 used the same songs, kind of, when you played as Virgil, but they were all remixes of those two songs that were used for one character. Now we have 5 characters with the same 2 versions of the same 2 songs, and one of them is already a remix. So I guess it would be kind of weird to mix the remix into a different mix. Speaking of the other characters, you may remember that I said this version has no save files, so how do you save up enough orbs to buy moves for all 5 characters? You give the red orbs a crutch and tell them to walk upstairs. This game introduces proud orbs to buy abilities, and red orbs come back to buy items. When you switch characters for the first time, all the proud orbs you've spent will be given back to you to buy more abilities. But you only get proud orbs after completing missions, so if you don't have enough proud orbs to buy an ability when the mission starts, you can't get the orbs you need from enemies, so you can buy it at a statue like in every other game, making the statue practically useless if you aren't buying items. I don't know why they couldn't just make proud orbs a drop like red orbs. It just limits your abilities for an entire mission. That's all we have to say on this game. It is good, probably better than Devil May Cry 1 technically speaking, but I think that game's more interesting and more worth your time, especially considering everything this game does will be done better in the next game. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like this game, I just find it boring when I have to come back to play it again. I know this game has its fans, I'm just not one of them. Anyway, that's all from me. I hope you have a good day. If it's your birthday, then happy birthday. Please leave a like on this video, subscribe. Remember, every like on this video is equal to 1 like on this video. And I'll see you next time when I look at the final game from the series. I want to look at Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. I'm not looking at the Devil May Cry reboot because I don't have anything to say about it. It'd be a more boring video and it just wouldn't be worth the time and effort. One day. But not today. Bye.